Hello and welcome to Candid Convos with Jona Dance. My name is Monique Jonas. I'm the founder of Jona Dance and your host for today's episode. Here at Candid Convos, I have the wonderful pleasure of inviting beautiful guests working across the contemporary dance industry to join me in conversation pretty much about anything and everything contemporary dance here in the UK. And on that note, I am super excited to have the wonderful and very busy, very, very busy Joshie Harriette in the building. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello, my dear. How are you?
I'm good. Feeling fresh.
I love this. The hair's looking for, I'm going to say it, the curls. Come on, show the people the hair.
We had to try, you know.
Yeah, looking beautiful. Thank you, first of all, because you are booked and busy and we love to see it, for taking time to join me in a conversation. It's been a hot minute.
It has been a hot minute.
Since I've seen you.
Too long. Lots to catch up on.
Lots to catch up on. I'm excited. But firstly, how are you? How are you today? How has your week been?
Do you know what? I'm actually good.
Yeah.
I'm actually taking some time.
Okay.
You know, like in a good way. Like obviously like I am still busy, but trying to like work on that work-life balance.
Do you know why you said that? It's phenomenal. I spoke to Video about that exact topic. Love to hear it. Love to hear it. You feeling excited for today?
Yes. I am.
Yeah?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Let's.
So I always like to ask the guests to kind of introduce themselves, so you can present kind of whichever version of your journey. Who is Joshie Harriette? Like, what was your journey? Just a nice summary, just of like how you arrived to be the award-winning person that we are here today. We got to drop it in.
I'm Joshie Harriette, of course. I'm a dancer firstly.
Yes.
And lighting designer second. I say it in that order because dance came first. And I think for me, dance came out of escapism. I started off with drama back in the day.
Did you actually?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like let's just jump straight in.
Yeah, go on.
Like I actually had quite like a troublesome childhood, actually. Hence why I kind of lived between London and St. Helens up north.
Yeah.
And I used to have a really bad stutter when I was a kid.
Yeah, wow.
The teacher up north suggested that I take on acting lessons and be part of the drama club to try and kind of like unlock the tension, essentially. There was something about the power and the freedom of being someone else, being a different character, that then all of a sudden I found myself on stage, being able to project and talk.
Wow.
But then off stage, I'd just be boom, back in my shell. And I, literally like really struggled. It was severe. It was,
oh my gosh.
It was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But then it was always a huge process for me to get to a point of being on stage, you know, like I hated a read through or anything like that, you know, like those kind of things were really difficult for me.
Yeah.
And then slowly then at my local drama school, Elizabeth Hill School of Dance and Drama, they also did like big musicals in a sense. So then they obviously used to get all of like the drama students that were there and the dance students and combine them.
Can you sing?
I can hold the tune.
Okay.
That's the next chapter.
That's the next chapter. Taking on musical theatre.
Take it on. I'll take it all.
Star.
I'll take it on. Yeah, take it all.
Sick.
And then that's how I found dance. And then there was then that extra freedom that then I could just move and I didn't have to really consider the voice or words or articulation, that it all just came from the body.
That's amazing.
And then I found myself really like dedicating more and more time to it without really realizing. But yeah, for me, it was an escapism.
Wow.
And the art still is for me.
That's incredible, because I actually didn't know a lot about like that earlier beginning for you and that introduction basically into the arts. But also it was like then a star was born.
Yeah, like it is kind of crazy. Like when you trace it all the way back. Yeah, it was my principal teacher at my school that suggested, Jean Moore.
This is the thing.
She invested so much time.
This is why sometimes I don't take teaching lightly, because I know the impact it can have on someone's like future trajectory within the arts. And like a lot of us have like one person or a group of people or an institution that really backed you and gave you that confidence, or was like, oh, there's this school, I think you should audition for it. There's this course, you should, and you know, and it's just like, had they not done that, would our lives have worked out the same way? Yeah. We don't know. Were you doing any training outside of what you've just said before Rambert School, or did that take you right the way up? Because we're Rambert School.
Rambert School of Ballet and Contemporary Dance.
Yes.
Yeah, I went to Elizabeth Hill School of Dance and Drama. So that was pretty much full on in terms of like evening classes, Saturday classes, that kind of thing. You know, times were tough actually back then. And they really acknowledged my talent and my investment and my dedication. They actually really believed in me, that to the point of me doing like jazz class and modern class.
Yeah.
And then crazily, like, you know, my fee actually never changed. And every so often there was more and more classes with my name on it, to the point where then I was even getting like private lessons. I was getting like male ballet classes, like these kind of things that they just really, invested in me for literally like for £10 a week is
That's
what.
Amazing.
That level of charity in it and investment. But they could just see what it was doing for me, you know, because there's no way that we could have afforded like full on training or be part of this associate program and like, you know, like these kind of things. And then I went to a state college called Winstanley College, where I did my A-levels. So I did like my maths and my business. And I had my drama and theatre studies and my dance. So it was very 50-50 throughout that time. But then, then I realised that I wanted to go into dance.
Oh my gosh, that's so interesting. I didn't know that we had so many parallels. Firstly, on the sort of like actually access to some of these education programs, like ages 11 to 16, from a financial standpoint, is a barrier for a lot of people. And I myself was one of them. And even though I went to arts ed for the lower school, so I was doing my academics and all the jazz, the tap, I could only go because I got a scholarship. And that meant that I was able to access that and explore and basically discover, because I didn't know what contemporary dance was before that. You know, I wouldn't have known modern. I wouldn't have done tap and all of those type of things. And then it's my teachers there also who were just like, oh, here are some schools that we think the year group or you specifically should try out for. And then, you know, it kind of brings you on that journey.
You know, what those teachers can do, do you know what I mean? Just like sprinkling those seeds, especially like, you know, the teachers that are in the state schools.
Yeah.
You know, that it's not a conservatoire, it's not a dance school or something, you know, it's just these normal people that are just trying to make a difference on a local level.
Absolutely.
You know, for example, like at the moment, there's like a lot of discussion with education in the arts, etc.
Yeah.
And how within state side of stuff, it's, you know, on the decline in terms of funding and resources and this kind of thing. But then I find it interesting that on the other side, there are all these like performing arts courses kind of popping up absolutely everywhere. And I actually disagree with it actually to a certain extent, in the sense of when people are so young, do they need to be also do it full time? And I say that because the diversification of like my training or education in terms of like I had my maths and my business and then I had my performing arts, and that was like working in parallel. It was 50-50.
Yes.
That then it allowed me to be more
maybe broad-minded, maybe.
And well-rounded before then specialising.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Rather than being like 15, 14 or something, you know, and you're already specialising. I'm like, well, that's a lot of eggs in one basket.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
You know?
And then also sometimes you might not know specifically if that's something that it holds that longevity for you in terms of interest alone, not necessarily ability. And sometimes you think it is. And then as we all know, we kind of go through life and then we're like, oh, maybe I'm not as interested in this anymore. And I go into something else. So then you went to Rambert School.
Rambert School.
How was that time for you?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I was incredibly lucky, I think. I fitted in.
Yeah.
I fitted into what Rambert School was training you to be in regards to like a company dancer and that kind of thing, that I was just very fortunate to fall into that.
Yeah.
And
You had a fabulous third year. I was first year when you were third year. I still remember watching the solos. It was the multiple pirouettes. It was the dynamics. It was the artistry. It was all of it.
It came there. I know how to when you got to deliver people. That's what you're trained to do.
Yeah. I feel like that was like a collective vibe across your third year. Like people really knew how to deliver in those high pressure performance situations and creatively. That's how it looked in my perspective from like a first year looking at a third year. You know,
we were lucky back then because the numbers were a lot smaller than what they are now. So I think we started the year with like 30 of us. Yeah. And then by the time we got to third year, I think there was less than 20 of us.
Oh, wow, yeah.
You know, so it was a really small knit group that we were really motivated to invest and work on our craft. We just got lucky with our cohort.
So from Rambert School, could you give like a quick summary of dance vibes, maybe spaces that you occupied as a dancer, and then at which point you kind of transitioned into diversifying that work trajectory? Let the people know what you've done.
Just a little sprinkle.
Run the CV.
Well, during third year, I danced with the MB.
Okay.
with their Romeo and Juliet production at the Royal Albert Hall, which was like my first like proper kind of professional experience.
Okay, epic.
That they were looking for extra dancers for the corps de ballet, just because obviously the space is so much bigger. It's huge. Then I briefly was an apprentice with Ballet Boys.
No, you weren't.
Yes, for literally like a month, which I knew deep down it actually wasn't for me, just in terms of like how I think the work that they do is incredible in terms of how they made their own path as a company.
Yeah.
But the commerciality of it, I didn't necessarily agree with it at the time.
Yeah.
And then I was lucky enough, Jules Cunningham introduced me to Michael Clark.
Yeah.
And then that was kind of my first full-time company was with Michael Clark. Then I moved on to Ballet Black.
Come on.
Then I moved on to Matthew Bourne Adventures for the creation and tour of the Red Shoes. Award-winning Red Shoes.
OG cast. Original cast.
Original cast. Which was a wonderful experience to be part of that creative process, I think. Then I went to Richard Alston, where we danced together.
Was it 2 years that we danced together?
Yeah,
2 seasons, right?
2 seasons.
Yeah.
The only company that I've ever done 2 seasons with. And I don't stay around very long. Then I moved on to dance with Adam Linder in Europe, and then Christopher Williams in New York.
Yes, yeah, I remember that US stint.
So yeah, I've had my full fantasy.
Do you have like a favorite memory or moment from your career so far? Because I know you've had such like a broad career, but you know, something that has left maybe a bit more of a lasting impression on you that you're like, yeah, actually I'm gonna hold on to that as you keep moving forward to whatever's next.
That's interesting. I don't know, you know. I think Michael Clark's always had a lasting impression on me, but I think that maybe because he was my first company, I suppose, and such a unique person, and how I would describe as a true artist.
Oh, nice.
That he didn't run the company as a company. You know, like he was a hot mess in multiple ways. Why are you laughing?
Because you said that so casually.
Well, yeah, like, you know, he's had a lot of challenges in his life and the work that the times that he's lived through, you know, and there's a lot of people around him have passed away.
Oh, right.
You know, for various things. You know, there's a lot of drug abuse, alcohol abuse. I feel like we can be honest about that now. And, you know, it was a very, we had to be flexible as his dancers, you know, but something that I do really believe is that because he was so honest and truthful, that then it just allowed us to tap into that, you know, and we were behind him as an artist.
Oh, nice.
And I feel like we don't get that a lot these days in terms of really like pulling a cohort of dancers to really like spearhead forward for an artistic vision. Yeah,
I think the industry, like you've picked up on a point that I'm quite curious about. Like the industry has definitely gone a lot more project based. And so the length of time that you get to invest into a specific artistic vision, style, sense of expression is limited with time. So like you might only be on a project for 2 months.
Yeah. And
then it's like, okay, there's the full stop at that. And it might come back, but it might not. And there might be a year in between that, or there might be a few weeks. And so even just thinking about like Alston, having 4 years for me, because that's how long I spent there, to like invest in Richard's style, his way of working, also Martin's style, Martin's way of working, a small cohort of dancers, what touring looks like. It gives you a chance to like develop yourself within that space. Yeah. And then also think about, well, what else would I like to do? Does it inform this space? Is this space fruitful for that? And, you know, some of those questions, the answers is yes. And others, it's like, oh, I'd maybe like to explore a bit more of this. And then you can start, do you know what I mean? It gives you that space to kind of do all of that.
To grow, to evolve. It's a shame because I know like a lot of choreographers do want that for their dancers. Yeah. You know, and then you can go with that momentum, you know, that I think even with Michael Clark, for example, like it was very much run as a project base, you know, like we did short tours here, there. We did a lot of like commercial work. Yeah. You know, we did like the Alexander McQueen at the V&A, for example. You
better name drop.
Yeah, you know, I'm there at the after party with Kate Moss, Naomi Campbell.
Were you actually?
Yeah.
No, stop.
Kate Moss was in the piece.
No,
stop. She was a patron at the time of Michael Clark Company. Wait. Yeah. So it's like she used to come in with like the hood, the glasses, the back door to the studio at Tongi Studio. She used to come in like celebrity vibes. Yes,
Beyond iconic.
Like there's a lot of like situations like that through Michael that are fun and once of a lifetime. We had Glastonbury main stage, like fashion weeks gigs.
And like a lot of variety as well. And also, like, the Michael Clark dances, you lot were trained. I used to love... No, because I really love seeing... I appreciate, you know, people have different opinions about what styles and stuff they're interested in today. And that's its own thing. But, like, seeing someone with a wealth of information in their body and then being able to, like, exercise that with, like, precision, clarity, control, like, all of those things, I'm still, like, obsessed.
The purity. The craft of really, like, you know, shaving down to what it... you know, is.
Because it's hard too. In front of an audience, you got to be on your leg. The leg can't be...
you have to be on it. And, you know, we had little tricks.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
of course.
You know, like, for example, like a spotting light, for example, that sometimes you get in the auditorium.
Yeah.
Sometimes we used to get our own coloured ones and then we could hide them in the auditorium wherever we wanted. So then for a certain section, if you're like stood on one leg
you can
doing these crazy poses for 2 minutes, you could just focus like, I'm the green light, I'm the green light.
No way.
Yeah, because sometimes
amazing.
the centre red isn't good enough.
No,
you know,
it's
like
true.
You know, it's not in the right place for
and
you.
Anyone who wears contact lenses which is me, sometimes the centre red is a blurry red. You know, because the side lights are just there's all different things. So that's an amazing little secret. Tricks of the trade. Okay, so I'd love to play this little kind of this or that game.
Yes.
And I was inspired by Biscuit Ballerina / Queen of Content. Because I just think the content is phenomenal.
I really want to know the dynamic of like her and her workplace doing that. I need a behind the scenes documentary or something.
Me too. I think the company support. It feels like the other dancers are like supportive of it. It's the fact that she's so good. She's genuinely amazing.
And how she's not injured herself, I don't know.
And also, like, I think I said this on another episode, but the Queen of Contempt videos, there's not many of them, but like the few little short form content that she's put out has dragged all of us in the contemporary dance industry. Every single one, not just in the UK, in Europe too, in the US.
Say it.
And I'm kind of so here for it. So I've got a few this or that. You just have to choose one or the other. Quite simple. There's some that I've asked my other guests because I'm like low-key rooting for some. So I'm like, come on, you got to be team this. So classic, socks or bare feet?
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you know I was about to jump to socks then?
I knew.
I was about to jump to socks, but actually deep down barefoot.
Right.
But the floor's got to be good.
Yeah, true.
I need to be facilitated.
I need to be facilitated.
I'm like, needs to be a good floor.
Yeah, valid. And I feel like that's also bare minimum requirement type vibe.
Yeah, but we're struggling for that these days.
Facts. Okay, second one. Are you team tote bag or team backpack? Ooh. Because contemporary dancers love a tote bag.
Tote bag for the studio.
Okay.
And then a backpack for life. I've always got a backpack with me.
Okay, fair. I like the distinction. That's a pretty fair answer. Okay, this is a personal one for me because I'm firmly one and not the other. Are you team Crocs or team sliders?
Crocs. All the way, people.
I knew you were going to say that.
Crocs. I had them at Ulster at the time. I love my Crocs.
And it's funny because I can't tell you the amount of Croc content that gets sent to my inbox because I wear Crocs now. Anytime someone sees content with Crocs, they send it to me. And I'm not mad at it. But low-key, I was inspired by you because I remember seeing you in the Crocs. And you were like, yeah, they're so comfy. And I was like, let me try. And then now I haven't gone back and everyone's like, Monique, why are you in Crocs? I'm like, listen, work in a company or freelance?
Company for 1 year. Move on.
That's very you. That is very you.
Get best of both.
Okay, fine. And then move on.
Have it all.
So like kind of a freelance company life.
Yeah,
basically. Yeah. Okay, so I've got two, which are kind of similar, but they're different. Have musicality or virtuosity, if you had to choose?
Musicality, because it can unlock the virtue.
You're like, how can I say both?
Musicality for sure, for first, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah,
okay.
for first.
So have rhythm or technique? Because I know many people who have rhythm for days, but like the technique and the form might be less familiar to them, or they're really technical, but are struggling to find the 5, 6, 7, 8.
Rhythm, it's more instinctive. It's
I'm
first.
so glad she said that.
It's first.
That's because it was my into dancing, and I'm just like, the rhythm helped me, you know, until I could find the tonju and the twist. Yeah. Okay, and this might be a little bit harder for you to distinguish, or maybe not, but performing as a dancer or presenting work as a lighting designer? Such an evil laugh.
Lighting designer, because I get more freedom.
Ooh, like creative freedom?
Yeah, creative freedom.
I wasn't sure which way you would go on that one, actually.
But it doesn't have the same buzz as dancing.
As in, like, being on stage and being the performer?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Like, you don't get that high at the end of a show. The same high. You don't get the same high. Sure.
Okay. And then the bonus question that I've asked all of my guests. Can you guess the average salary of a contemporary dancer in the UK? Because for context, I walked around the streets of Waterloo, and just asked random strangers to guess the salary of a contemporary dancer, just to see what the public thought. And I have an episode on finances coming out. So I'm just curious, because actually we don't talk about it a lot.
I think it's going to be quite low, because with contemporary dance, we're so sucked into at the moment, equity minimum. You know, so when that gets averaged out across the year, I'm going to be crazy and say like 20k.
Oh yeah, okay. Interesting.
I'm gonna go quite.
Yeah? Interesting. I will reveal the actual amount off camera. Basically, so that, you know, the reveal of it happens in the episode. Interesting. It's been really interesting hearing everyone's answers of that. What do you hope it would be? You know? Like as a base minimum.
Well, it depends, isn't it? Like with like experience and blah blah blah. But like I think you should be able to get comfortably with experience, maybe like 30, 35 would be like a fair.
Yeah.
And I'm talking like contemporary dance. Like I'm not talking about the added bonuses of commercials or like those kind of things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like actual like
just contemporary
dance that effectively is, you know, funded by the government.
Yeah.
Funded through Arts Council.
All of those things. Interesting. Okay, sweet. No, it's good. It just opens my eyes up to this because, like I said, I don't think there are enough conversations about it. What we can be aiming for as artists working in the industry, how can we better our salaries, like what feels realistic, and, you know, like what are these ceiling expectations? Get a sense of where's everyone else at, because otherwise you're kind of left to deal with it by yourself.
It was interesting what I was paid with Adam Linder and Christopher Williams outside of the UK. So like a European salary and then an American salary as a guest performer.
Yeah.
When I came back to the UK, I was like, yo.
Was it humbling? Okay.
It was very much like, wow, yeah, this is what it should be.
Got you.
You know, but then it's so much harder at the moment with Arts Council, etc., that then you have these equity contracts that tend to be equity minimum.
Yeah.
So then when you're coming in with experience, it's then hard to
kind of negotiate
up.
Yeah, because people are working within fairly restrictive budgets for the size of the work that they're creating. Interesting. I wanted to get into our main topic of today, which is all about being a jack of all trades, understanding how to pave your own path in the industry. Just because I think, at least when I feel it's fair to say when we were graduating, there was this kind of myth that you got into a company and then you've made it, and the freelancing life, you know, was perhaps not given as much value. The industry shifted now. Is definitely a lot more freelance than company life in general here in the UK, I would say.
Yeah, you haven't got a choice.
Yeah, you know.
Almost.
Oh, yeah, the tea.
It's true. Look at all the companies that have closed. Look at all the choreographers that want to sustain a full-time company.
Yeah.
They actually can't.
Yeah.
There are countless that have all closed or they've gone project-based. I guess the turnover of someone like Wayne McGregor, for example, even the amount of like work that he can't sustain that, or I believe from the outside, he can't sustain the dance company full time.
You're right.
10 years ago, say you would have had dancers there that was their job, their job, and that's all they did.
Right. And so do you feel like it's kind of like paramount and necessary for artists, like contemporary dance artists, to diversify what they do in order to sustain a living?
They haven't got a choice right now.
Ooh. Ugh, that's tough.
I think.
That's tough. There are companies out there, but I guess because
of course.
Perhaps there isn't as broad a range as when I was graduating or when you were graduating doing full-time work in the UK. Perhaps it feels a bit more like, okay, we have to tap into some TV film work. We have to tap into some choreographies. And I mean, you're a living testimony of doing multiple things, creating your own path. So let's start here. Like, when did your interest in lighting come about?
Began at Rombo School.
Yeah.
As you know, Dr. Ross McKim,
yes.
our principal, was very open-minded, very kind of hippie energy vibe. I believe it was his belief that for the student choreographic shows, the students had to be involved in all aspects of the show.
True.
So there was a group of people in each year group that did the stage management and the running and that kind of stuff. There was the sound and there was the lighting. And the way that they used to program the shows was that they would make sure that not all the lighting people, for example, were in the same evening of work.
Yeah.
It sounds, this is maybe a bit cheeky, but like I didn't actually choose to do it. Actually, I just got offered it by a ballet teacher. Looking back, I don't know why it was her job to decide.
Yeah. And
there was actually a girl in my year, Maggie, from Australia. I'm in first year. And then there were these rumors that like, oh, people get to have a go at it and try out these kind of technical skills.
Yeah.
And Maggie took the initiative and went and asked to do it, which in my book is like first come, first served. If you took the initiative and you got your foot in the door first, go for it. At the time, said ballet teacher said no to her. And I suppose maybe looking back, that they couldn't get their heads around how, a female dancer could be in their tights and leotard and point shoes, etc.
Right.
And then go to the box. But it was that stereotype that sadly back then was not.
Yeah. It wasn't challenged as much.
It wasn't challenged. So then she then accepted that no. And then I was then asked, like, would you like to?
Oh, wow.
And it was a huge, privilege that what gave me my first little in. And then from then I just completely like fell in love with it. Super basic, if someone asked for a 5-second, because it's all on faders. So if someone asked for a 5-second fade, it was me like 1, 2.
No, stop.
5. Like, of course. But then sometimes, like at a blackout at the end of the piece, sometimes you just want to catch them and then black out. Like you'd give them a little,
and then,
Yeah, I kind of miss it. I miss that. That's why I still try and do like a lot of busking with the lights. I do miss the liveness to it.
So do you mainly now, just because phenomenally you're working in a bunch of different spaces and multiple projects at the same time, I'm assuming, do you primarily design the lights and then leave it with a separate like lighting technician to kind of call it and do that on the day? Or is it something that's programmed? Like, how does that work?
It's something that I'm starting to learn how to let good things go. Like I can't be with the projects full time like I used to, like I suppose like as a performer. But a big thing for me is that I'm a self-taught lighting designer now. Like I've kept it bubbling on throughout my dance career, doing Your Resolution, for example, at the place. And those were pre me being able to actually program the lights myself. And then during lockdown, I kind of taught myself how to program lights.
Pause. How? What did you do? No, because I think it's amazing. Okay. Was it a YouTube situation?
YouTube tutorials.
Really?
Yeah.
Amazing.
And it was lockdown. Like I really took the gift of time. I took the gift of time with lockdown.
Yeah.
And, I was there making like little dance videos with lights. And a lot of the lighting companies, their educational packages became available.
Ah, okay.
So for example, like I work with like ETC EOS, the mainstream theatre lighting.
Because I was like, I don't know what that is.
Console.
Yeah.
So like I learned how to use the software on a computer before then go into a console.
Yeah.
But the software is the same, and then you can hook it up to like a visualizer. I've got quite a bit of a nerdy side to me, but again, YouTube just teaches you what you were all, and then through the visualizers, you can then go through like step 1, how to turn it on. Yeah. Step 2, how to patch a light. We had so much time.
Yeah.
That I was sat there with my Negroni in one hand and espresso martini in the other.
How can I forget the Negroni? That is your signature drink. Signature. Do you know what? This is a slight tangent, but I really remember doing a Q&A after a show with Richard Olsen. Maybe it was the one in Bern, Switzerland. And they were like, which drink would you like? Thinking like wine, water, soft drink. You were like, a Negroni.
Sometimes I think, who do I think I am?
But I just remember finding it absolutely hilarious because these poor people were just like...
But some people take it quite seriously, which I'm enjoying. Yeah.
You're like, yeah, of course they did.
Because I knew they had it in the bar.
Did you actually? You're so funny.
And then for my last tour with like my last dance thing last year with Adam Linder, in my ride, I thought it'd be quite funny to put, I need a Negroni after every show.
Stop.
Just as a
like,
joke,
banter.
just to see, banter with the producer, etc. And you know they did it. I used to come off stage for my last tour and there'd be a Negroni there because they thought it'd be funny just to actually do it. Yeah.
I mean, that shows that you're in like good vibes, like in good company. For like that to be a thing which is like in the rider, but also like it's a joke, and for them to be like it's a joke, but we're doing it.
To come off stage, I'll be there in the dressing room.
You're there.
Full stardom fantasy.
I'm
going to the shower like.
You're not serious.
Let me do a rollout.
Oh my gosh. I mean, the level of life to be lived is that one, isn't it? You know, that feels right for you and you enjoy your Negroni. That was like core memory unlocked of that Q&A, which is kind of iconic. But I have to ask, like, you've clearly spent a lot of time in theatres as a performer and like, in that you get to see how the stage management, like we've been in countless texts where we're the one, you know, on stage and, you know, they're like, can you stand in that light? And then it's like 20 minutes later and they're like, can you stop moving? Can you stay in the light? That sort of vibe. Did you feel any like imposter syndrome when you first stepped into the lighting space and being self-taught, kind of like occupying the creative decisions for how something can like visually be presented that way?
Yeah, it's a huge thing. I still feel it now because I think with the lighting, it's unlocking a lot of doors that as a dancer, I would never have been in those kind of institutions or part of those projects.
Yeah.
I think because I've come in from such a different angle and being self-taught, that I'm not part of the formula that they've all learned at university, say.
Right.
And then obviously sometimes the way that I articulate myself throws them also like as like, but particularly like on like the technical side of stuff.
Sure.
But then they're completely confused that then when they see me sat down with a director in a tech or a choreographer, the way that then I know the piece, I know how to communicate. And there's been plenty of times where I'm like, give me that God mic and I'll just speak directly to the cast, which usually is like a big no-no, like lighting designer. But I'm like, but I can articulate it way quicker.
Yes.
And I can get what they want and I can get what I want. And we just need to bring that together real quick in that quick, snappy collaboration.
And have you found like directors, creatives, choreographers, because you've worked with a bunch of different people, like have they been quite open to that?
Hugely open.
Oh, that's really reassuring, open. Actually.
Yeah, they're hugely.
Because I guess you possess like this wonderful like intersectionality of knowing what it's like to work with a choreographer, knowing what it's like to be a dancer in tech on stage and getting used to the lights. And now you're on the other side also and being like, okay, well, from the tech side, we need X, Y, and Z for it to look like this, that, and the other. So it's kind of, you cut out the middle ground because your experience.
I've experienced both.
Yeah.
I think that's something that I will confess, like I've been quite lucky that having a sustained dance career and then going into lighting, it was just in a way a simple sidestep.
Okay.
You know, I was already in the industry.
Yeah.
People already knew me and respected me in that capacity. So then when they saw me diversifying my skills and doing something else, then they were then even more interested, even though it kind of got a bit too far in the sense that some choreographers that I have worked with or want to work with me. And there's a sense of like, oh, but I would actually dance for you. But,
okay.
But okay.
So are you still open to dance jobs?
I'm still open to dance jobs, people.
Listen.
I'm available. Okay. I'm available. But this last year, like this is my first year that I've not been on stage.
Yeah.
But I think it's because as a creative, you get booked up quite in advance compared to performers are last, man.
Yeah.
Dancers
are
last. We're on the bottom of the list always.
Yep.
In every whatever list it is, dancers are on the bottom, it seems. Yeah. So by the time any dance auditions come up or choreographers get in touch or anything like that, you're already kind of booked for the time frame. And cheekily, I can do more lighting gigs.
Yeah, because it doesn't always require your physical presence for the entirety of the project.
As long as I'm there from tech through previews to opening.
Yeah, it's usually fine.
Yeah.
No, I think that's amazing to know, actually, not just personally because of Jona Dance, but because we're seeing externally so much of your lighting work. That's why I'm like, are you still available for dance work?
That's why I want to do like a little like something like a little wiggle on Instagram. It's like, you know, because they kind of forget. Or like a lot of doors are opening, which then interestingly, some people now are starting to not know that I'm a performer.
Yeah, because they've met you as a lighting designer first, right?
Yeah. And then they get confused, or the tech teams, like, you know, that's where I know a theatre.
Yeah.
I know how to do a show. I know how to execute it.
Yeah.
Y'all just need to help me.
Shame. Okay, yeah, fair play.
You know.
So I have to ask, like, was it intentional that you wanted to make your own path, like, through the arts? Or do you feel like you subscribe to the kind of, like, narrative of what, like, a performance industry looked like? Because we're talking about paving your own path. Like, were you intentional about it? Or is it just kind of, like, not circumstantial and you made the most of the opportunity that was there for you? But, yeah, where do you sit on that?
I think it's always been a conscious choice.
Oh, yeah.
I think deep down, like growing up, etc. And not that I've always felt like an outsider, but you know, when he's like, there was always just a sense as a kid that I was always on my own path. I very quickly understood about how decisions can have ripple effects.
Oh, yeah.
I think. And I've just tried to use that to my advantage and kind of keep that in my conscious mind.
Yeah.
I think. And then I'm not scared of taking risks.
This is very true to you.
When I graduated and I was meeting dancers, etc., like I was always really surprised about how, you know, when you kind of come across those like senior experienced dancers that are essentially hating their life in the company.
Shame.
You know, and you're just kind of like, well, what are you doing here then?
Right.
Give up that space, go and do something else. I saw something and I was like, oh, I maybe don't want to become like that.
Is it fair to say kind of like seeing someone kind of comfortable in a space, but perhaps it's not challenging, pushing them anymore? And then being like, okay, you don't really want to kind of get in a space where you feel too comfortable for too long. That the moment maybe you're like, yeah, you know, I feel quite confident here. Maybe it's time for a new challenge.
Thank you for saying it so diplomatically.
Yeah.
I think I've had a lot of like uncomfortability in my life, and there's something in that. I see the benefits of being uncomfortable and being in new spaces. And how am I going to do this? I think being comfortable is great, but then it can lead to, if you want momentum, if you want change. And I think as an artist, I've always just wanted to like soak everything up as quickly as I could.
Yeah.
Because there's that inner bit of confidence, but I think that's a defense mechanism, perhaps.
Ooh,
that
in what sort of way?
At the end of the day, even if you like might be feeling super uncomfortable or imposter in the situation, but there's something deep down, which I think all dancers do have. I think it's an incredible nugget we all have, which is there's an inner confidence inside because of how we train, because of how, you know, you're doing open class, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know the choreo, you're looking at yourself every day in the mirror, that there's something inside us that we know how to carry ourselves. And it's just about trying to like, for me, it's about trying to just keep pushing that.
Yeah, it's quite interesting what you said about like the comfort and discomfort. I think Liam mentioned something also about this idea of like discomfort and comfort. I had a student recently ask me kind of like about training. And they're in their second year of training. And I think that's quite a hard year to navigate sometimes because, you know, you don't have the freshness of joining. And you're also not at the point of like, what's next? Like, I'm about to go into the industry, like this sort of energy. I think one of the first things I said was like, it's going to be uncomfortable. Like, if you came to train and you thought it was going to be comfortable, you've kind of been like misled slightly, in my opinion, because anytime you're learning a new skill, you're going to go through the phase of not knowing what's happening, maybe feeling like you're drowning a little bit, wondering if this is possible, or doing things like that feel monotonous and not seeing lots of improvement. And then also like managing what that is. And I just was like, actually, with all skills, with all new environments, you kind of have to be willing to go through a little bit of discomfort in order to...
If you want growth, if you want to move, you have to.
Yeah, right?
You know?
And just like trust that there's going to be something on the other side of it.
And trust that you pull it off.
Yeah, true. We're performers, I think, to a degree.
You'll always pull it off.
You know, like an element of sort of like finesse, and people would be like, oh, you seem so confident. I was like, I didn't know what I was doing. But if I said it confidently enough and you thought that I knew what I was doing, then I'll buy it. You know, it's kind of like that sort of vibe. So I wonder, like, for someone contending with multiple interests across the arts, like, or even maybe outside of the field, because I know many people who like dance and like also study law and do all of this type of stuff. Like, what advice would you give them on their journey when they're like managing multiple things? Because like you said, you had your performing career, but you kind of kept the lighting stuff ticking over. Yeah,
that was ticking over always. I think just keeping all flames alive as much as you can and feed it, fuel it,
Yeah.
Because you never know when eventually, you know, like everyone says, like life is short, but then also like there's so much that you can do. Don't expect a quick return with it, that there is a way that investments can blossom in like years to come. So like if at Rombe School, if I would have just left there, graduated, and never did anything but lighten again, which obviously would have been okay. But then actually, if I wouldn't have persevered, even just on a personal level, it wouldn't have enabled me to kind of have a whole second career.
Yeah.
That is booming.
I know, which is 2 times nominated Black British Theatre Awards.
Yeah, one
you gotta
time
let the people
winner.
know, show them the accolades.
Yes.
You know, how was that? Like winning an award in something that you said you kind of sidestepped into and making a blossoming career out of. Like how was that for you?
It was beautiful. The recognition was absolutely beautiful, because I feel like I'm on my own path, but that sense of that I'm not really part of the lighting community, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I am just like, I'm on my own, you know. That's why like a lot of them are like, who is this person who's taking all the jobs?
You do stay booked, so I guess people are like, who's this? Like new person on the scene vibe.
Yeah. But then for me, it's like, well, no, I've always been on the scene. You just didn't know me in that capacity.
Oh, that's a word. That's a word. I've always been here.
I've always been here. I've always been here. Just find the time and facilitate those interests.
Yeah.
And also find the connections between the interests.
Oh, I see.
How they can come together.
Yeah. Or if there's an overlap in any way that you can.
What is that?
Yeah.
Is that connection? And also just stay true to it as well. Don't get me wrong, it can throw people.
Yeah.
It can throw people. Like I know when the lighting started to become a bit more of a thing, you know, choreographers or directors, they were getting a bit thrown by it, because all of a sudden they realized that I'm not wholeheartedly 100% dedicated to dance or to what they're doing. They're like, oh, wait, you're doing that on your day off? But then eventually once you're still delivering your work and they see that actually it's just making you a better artist, it's just nurturing you even more, that then they do a full circle and kind of like respect him also. So yeah, my advice would be just like hold on to that, and it's okay to be diverse with your different skills and interests.
And I guess what I'm also taking from that is it's also okay to know that you can go all in for something and have other interests too. Because there is this thing in the dance industry where it's like, especially as a dancer, like you're expected to give everything. And I'm just like, yeah, but we are not just like one-sided, we're multifaceted people. So like, how can we, sometimes the stuff that we're doing outside, as long as it's not impacting the time you've committed to either the work you're learning, the piece you're doing, can benefit that, because you've spoken to this person, you understood this, you experienced this, you saw something from a different perspective. I think it's okay to platform this idea that we can have multiple interests and still deliver with integrity. Yes.
It's also a reflection of the times right now. You know, that like we were kind of saying earlier, that, you know, it's very difficult to kind of have like 100% dance career.
Yeah.
Or these kind of choreographers or rehearsal directors or directors, like, you know, they tend to be a lot, you know, older or more experienced, but it's also like, you know, they could sustain themselves with just dance.
Yeah.
You know, for example, and that like the scene has changed now. It's not the same. They've also got some, like up at the top, they've got some learning to do.
Sure.
Of how, like, you know, the landscape is shifting.
Yeah, and kind of maybe a sensitivity to how it's shifting and how this might be impacting the decisions that not necessarily younger, I would say fresh, like artists fresh to the industry would be considering for their specific journey. Valid points are being made, you know? Let the people know. Can you tell us a bit about Lab 13? Like, what is Lab 13? Can people get involved? I've known about it for a hot minute, but I'm like, let the people know. What's Lab 13 about?
Lab 13 started as a...
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I don't... Because we've always... So the other half of Lab 13, Nahum McLean, something that we both acknowledged is the asset of space and how even as dancers or performers, we don't always have access to space.
True.
Even when you're training, even at Rombe School, and that timetable used to go up every Friday.
Yeah, everyone was fighting.
And it was like all the pens trying to write down their name just to get an hour's space.
Yeah,
you know, like we've never had, you know, good access to space in that way. And then even when you're in a company, sometimes the company might not actually have a studio as a home.
True.
You know, like so as an artist, as a dance artist, a movement artist, where do you have space to just facilitate your own movement. So Lab 13 was kind of like a little bit born out of that. And it's kind of like an underground production company, studio, lighting, house, which is like, yeah, it's a beautiful space. So I suppose one side of it has all of my lighting equipment. And then the other side of it is a dance studio.
Yeah.
And those things run in parallel. That's basically how I facilitated also leveling up my lighting. I suppose it's like the business side of me and the entrepreneurial side of me, but I'm not scared to take a risk and invest to push the budget, you know? So for example, like, oh, here's the higher budget for a project. You know, I might look at that and I'll be like, oh, but actually if we bought these shittier lights, shouldn't have said that, but like more worse lights, then we own those lights, then it becomes an asset. You know, I think people forget the business side of the arts. So Lab 13 was like a way of me facilitating my lighting. And then for Nahum with ADDA.
Yes.
Doing amazing stuff with the pilot scheme with
different schools across the country, right?
Yeah. The African Diaspora Dance Association. Sorry, that really got me. He's going to be like...
You know, he's going to be like, get it right, Josh. Get it right.
But that's where the syllabus was made.
Yeah.
But yeah, last month we actually moved out of the space to get ready for something for next year.
Oh, exciting.
We want to level up a little bit.
Amazing.
In that sense.
Is there any glimpse that can be shared now, or do we need to wait till it comes up?
We have to wait.
Okay, fair. No, I respect that.
But yeah, Lab 13, I think a lot of artists have used the space. You know, like you've got a lot of artists have reached out and we gave them space practically for free.
Yeah.
And they've made tours and you know, work out of it. Because essentially we got it through a charity organisation called SET.
Yeah.
And they have various buildings around London. You can have a studio space with them and they put up like these temporary walls.
Yeah.
And it tends to be, you know, for painters, sculptors, that kind of thing. And me and Nahum just saw it and we were like, hold on a second.
Yeah, we can make something.
We can make a studio out of here. So we made a sprung floor.
Oh, I remember
from
that.
hand, like the DIY and putting everything down. And you know, it was just a safe space that then people could come and hang out. They could explore. But eventually, we kind of wanted to level it up a bit. And then also cheekily that with Nahum like up and down the country.
Yeah.
With ADDA at the moment. And myself with the lighting, like we're not there enough. Then we started to, as we're using it less. Yeah. It then started to get to a point of like us running a studio remotely. Yeah. It's a different dynamic. It's a different ball game. And but shadily we did kind of like softly put out feelers of people coming on board a bit more permanently with it.
Fantastic.
People are struggling right now financially. I feel like people are scared to take financial risks and to invest because you can put the money in, but then people are constantly needing something out of it, and sometimes people struggle to see what it can become. Yeah,
perhaps because of the sort of uncertainty of the times that we're in now in 2024, across the arts, with, like you said, taking those risks without like a guaranteed sort of like outcome. People are less willing to do that perhaps. But in the same vein, I'm also like, in order to kind of start stuff, there needs to be that element of, you know what, I might be willing to make a short loss here because of X, Y, and Z, because you never know which projects pay off in the long run. Yeah. Even just like here, Candid Convos, this was just like, you know what, I'd really quite like to do this. I'd love to chat to some people. I've had a bigger influx of people asking questions about the industry and things like that. And I was like, let's chat to people in the industry, because I will have one perspective, but my perspective is not the only perspective. Who knows where this will go in the future, and maybe it will go somewhere great, and maybe it will be just this as is, and that's also fine. Yeah. You know? And I think that's really imperative in navigating your own path, figuring things out for yourself. And the other thing I wanted to like bring a little bit of light onto is I have this section called Know Your Worth. Because I feel like as artists, especially as dancers, we can learn to know our worth more in spaces. And so for you, how do you know your worth in the arts? What is that anchor that's just like, no, I know my worth and I'm going to advocate for myself and, you know, respectfully carry myself with integrity? Like, what does that look like?
I think just honesty. I think just honesty. So like if I feel like I'm being taken advantage of, right, then I will say.
But has that boldness come with time?
I think that boldness has come with time, but But then kind of talking with you, realizing like some of the bold moves that I made quite early on in my career with just like up and leaving a company because I felt like, you know, and I just wanted something different, something more, which when I look back and I'm like, oh, like that was quite, you know, because a lot of the times I just left without having anything coming up.
Yeah.
You know, like it was a tactical risk, but I think deep down I knew that I did have that worth and I knew that I would find my way.
Yeah. Because the work does come. Like, you know what I mean? Like the opportunities do come, and sometimes if it's not handed to you, I feel like we're both of a similar mindset where sometimes we create it. You know, you might not always like wait for something to be offered. I'm like, you know what? I've got this time. How can I facilitate this? And then that might start, you know, another wheel turning somewhere else.
And people are open to conversation, as difficult as it can be.
Yeah.
People are open to conversation, and you know, you do need to know where you stand on things and how you want to approach projects, how you want to approach collaboration to then find that frequency. You know, my favorite projects is when they're not feeling like work. You know, and you're just having a kiki, having fun and slaying it.
Like having a good time, but delivering excellence.
But and you really like digging deep in what you want to dig deep in.
Yeah.
I will say though, like I do feel more empowered as a lighting designer than as a dancer.
Ooh, why do you think that
I do think that sometimes. I don't know. There's something about I only have to answer to the director. Say, you know, you why
you're like, because I only have to answer to the director.
You bypass all of the politics in dance and rehearsal directors and like, you know, they're like these kind of
sort of like hierarchy.
The hierarchy, you know, that with the lighting, because it's its own niche little department. That, you know, once the lights are where I need them to be, no one needs to know what's going on.
Oh, okay,
here,
I see what you mean.
You know, but there's something empowering about that. It's just a bit more streamlined by myself.
Oh yeah.
But a bit lonely at the same time.
Yeah.
You know,
is that a preference for you at the moment, or perhaps like hoping to see how that can like bring a bit more connection?
I think I'm open to a bit more connection. I think sustainability wise for myself, I can't keep like some of the bigger gigs that I'm tackling. The usual lighting designers have like whole teams behind them.
Yeah.
You know, they'll have assistants, associates, a programmer.
Yeah.
You know, but I just like,
I'm
just riding solo, doing it all myself, and even still holding on to the programming side of stuff as well. But I just feel more comfortable there. I feel like when I'm on the lighting desk, you know, I can respond in real time.
Sure. Would you be open to like putting feelers out to be like, oh, would anyone like to shadow? Would anyone be interested in? Is that because,
no, definitely
you
open
also
to
did
it.
some shadowing, no? And
you
had some like people kind of mentor.
Yeah.
You on this journey.
Yeah, I've had some. Yeah, like I reached out to like back in the lockdown days. Reached out to Andrew Ellis, who does like a lot of the lighting for like
Andrew's
you know
great.
everyone really. You know,
great.
he's everywhere. And I just reached out to him with some of my lighting videos and my lighting visualizations. I was like, hey, look, I'm kind of you know doing this and this, and then you know, and then he just brought me along to shadow him.
Yeah.
You know, and then that eventually grew into like assisting and being an associate for him, and that's what introduced me to Jose Agudo.
Yeah.
You know, which was great.
Amazing.
There are a lot of people that have helped me with the lights, and you know, like Lucy Carter's given me a lot of advice recently through my fellowship with Factory International, and Paulie Constable.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, come on.
Yeah,
all the names.
It was actually interesting bumping into her at Royal Shakespeare Company.
Yeah.
Of course, she's in the big house. I'm in the smaller venue.
Yeah.
But it was great to see her because she knew my time at New Adventures. You know, that I wanted to be the lighting associate for Romeo and Juliet, and I applied and I became a finalist and had my interview and everything with Paulie.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea.
Yeah, at the time.
Right.
But she was very honest. She was like, "You're not ready yet." She said that you've got more dancing in you before you take this plunge into lighting. Like
she was
like, I don't think this is the right time for you, and you're gonna have this amazing opportunity, and then you're gonna go back to dancing. And I was like,
maybe tough to hear at the time, but also like, do you think that worked out well for you in the long run?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah,
it did. In the
you're like, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Paulie.
And so maybe it's a bit cliche, but if you could like one bit of advice that you'd put out to the community about anyone who might be considering how they'd like to navigate the industry, whether that's dance, whether that's lighting, whether that's something else, like one bit of advice that you would like to leave with the people then. It's carefully considered. I like this.
You need to be lucky, right? To a certain extent. But I think luck is I'm thinking of the quote, opportunity meets readiness, or readiness meets the opportunity.
Okay.
So you need to just be ready, put yourself into spaces and just be ready in whatever that means for you in terms of investing your time, money, energy, like work out what that ratio of those three things are.
Yeah.
To be ready for when the opportunities come in.
Yeah.
But then also sometimes don't expose yourself too early.
Knowing your time, and also like admitting, I think it's okay to go into a space when it might be a little bit of a challenge, but then also knowing when it's like, actually, I don't have enough foundational knowledge to be in this space. It's kind of like taking out a photo when it hasn't been developed properly. Is that what you meant?
Yeah.
Be ready. Be ready. Stay ready as the opportunities come.
Because they will come.
Yeah.
They will come. And you have to keep that, you do have to believe that. They will come.
Yeah, definitely. And everyone's path looks different. And that's okay. And that's the beauty of it, really, isn't it?
Yeah. I think that's why it's great that you're doing this and kind of, highlighting that, because, it's so easy to look at other people and to compare yourself.
Yeah.
And all that kind of thing. But it really is, you stay true to yourself and your own identity.
Absolutely.
Which can change, which can be fluid.
Yeah. Because we all change as people as we go through life. And the other thing is like, when you're seeing people kind of achieving things that maybe you wanted to do as well, also ask them like, hey, how did you get there? Like, what was your process? I think that's fine to do that. And like, hopefully we as creatives who are perhaps like doing different things can be open to being like, hey, like not gatekeeping basically, and just being like, hey, this is what I did. This is what I found. Like mentorship, I'm feeling is like quite important. And this idea of community. And then the person who's doing it, just try, because it might fail, but what if it doesn't? It's kind of my attitude at the moment.
Yeah.
It might fail, but what if it doesn't? Could be out here thriving like Joshie Harriette.
Could be the next big thing.
Okay. I think this is a perfect place to kind of like wrap up. So I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and have a little chat.
It's been dreamy.
Thank
it's been
you.
A cute little afternoon.
Yes, and hopefully you can enjoy the rest of your evening and time to unwind perhaps before the gears get going. You're like, it's only November. We got some more work to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. But seriously, thank you so much. And beautiful conversation. It's been really, really lovely. Until next time.
Yes.
Until next time.
Much love and respect.
I appreciate you. And to all of our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in and or listening in, depending which one that you chose to go down. It's been a pleasure to film Candid Convos and get to speak to so many wonderful artists. And we'd love to bring more Candid Convos. So if you have any topics that you would like for us to discuss, drop it in an email, drop it on our social media, on my website, www.jonadance.com, and we'll get back to you. And we'd love to continue this conversation to serve the community, to open up topics for the community. It's not about us, it's about all of us together moving forward with the right information. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. And until next time, I'll catch you soon.